Now, I give a workshop to 2-year-olds. I have a niece that has a little play group, and she has 8 2-year-olds that there, and I have this complete over package that my wife sent over for my niece. And when I walked in, I said to the kids, joy, joy, joy. So she asked the kids, you know what joy means? Happy. So the more outgoing kids repeated joy. The next time I came, I did that again. Joy, joy. So then by the third time, all the 8 2-year-olds, everybody said joy, joy, joy. Now, why is it easier to give a joy workshop to 2-year-olds than it is to adults? And the answer is simple. 2-year-olds don't say, how can I be joyful now? My mother might not serve me the lunch that I like. Or somebody says, I can't be joyful because when I come home, my brother or sister might take my favorite toys. The kids, 2-year-olds, joyful, that's it. They don't worry about they're going to feel later now. So that's really what gets in the way. And I wrote a book called Life is Now. Life is now. And well, it's obvious, life is now. And we heard from Michael a great presentation on NLP. It's wonderful ideas. When we realize that life is now, we can only create a state now. And you don't have to create before, because the past is just whatever was. It was just history, and it just was. And the past is a left brain experience. It's a left brain experience of what was and how we analyze what was and tell the story of what was. And we all have stories about what it was. And then we have the future, which is also a story of what might be in the future. But the only where reality is now. So since reality is now, it makes the whole job of being joyful easy. Because all you have to be is joyful now. That's it. So that's it. I am joyful now. I am joyful now. Right? And we put together 9 principles for happiness. And really you only need the first 2. And we'll see how much time to go and we'll have much more fun if we don't do the whole 9. We'll just do the first 2. We'll see. We'll play by ear, and we'll see which parts we get through. And the first principle is, I think appreciatively and gratefully. Everybody together. I think appreciatively and gratefully. What am I grateful for now? What am I grateful for now? So to be grateful now, so what if you're not always grateful? Forget it. Who cares if you're always grateful? Just be grateful now. I am grateful now. Now, what do you think of what things I'm grateful for? Wow, I can hear, I can see, I can walk, I can talk, I'm alive, right? Thank you so much. I'm grateful that you handed out the cards.
I can't hear you. Can you talk louder?
Grateful that you handed out the cards.
I'm grateful for you thanking me.
Right. See, that's it. A good exchange. I feel good. He feels good. I assume he feels good, but I feel good. And therefore, basically, gratitude is an easy thing. Be very appreciation, gratitude. I think appreciatively and gratefully. What am I grateful for now? Right? And that thing, a married couple, if they keep focusing on what they're grateful for, that's fantastic. Because it's so easy to think what you're not grateful for. So I think appreciatively and gratefully, what am I grateful for now? And there's always things to be grateful for, and good. Number two, and this one is really it. That's all you need. This principle is, I speak and act joyfully and kindly. Everybody together. I speak and act joyfully and kindly. That's it. That doesn't sound very complicated, does it? It's also a right brain experience, of speaking and acting joyfully and kindly. And research shows that when you speak joyful and act joyfully, you experience joy. Now, in Judaism, there's a major work, 1740, there was a Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. He was a Kabbalist, a great ethical writer, and he wrote, in Hebrew it's 4 words, Tznuah Chitzaina Mara Pnimius, which means, my external movements arouse my inner feelings. My external movements arouse my inner feelings. Very simple idea. Tznuah Chitzaina Mara Pnimius. Now, the external movements arouse my inner feelings. So if you want to be joyful, you can either, like my dear friend John Tamron, you go to Harvard and you become a psychiatrist, and and he's a tremendously insightful psychiatrist and really works great. He's amazing. And if you want to speak and act joy by speaking and acting joyfully, you just create the joy. Now, nobody before 1970 had endorphins. Why? Not that human biochemistry changed, but they didn't have a word for it. So the word didn't exist. Now, what does that mean? That everything written in the field of psychology and all psychoanalyst theories were all before they realized that we have a God-given endorphin factory that we carry with us wherever we go. So knowing that we have an endorphin factory, that's very helpful. Now, only in 1980, Norman Cousins did the research in UCLA. They had actors who were good at acting joyfully, act joyfully, and over a make-believe situation. So they acted joyfully, and they took out some, there was in the laboratory, and they took out a little blood. They found there's some endorphins in there, in the skin, because in the blood system, because what happens is, all you have to do is even make believe something good happened and be joyful about it. Now, for me personally, in 1958, a major event, I'm from Baltimore. I'm from the city of Baltimore, and in the year 58, the Baltimore Colts beat New York Giants 23-17. Right? In New York, that wouldn't go over that great, but I'm from Baltimore. So when Johnny and I used to get the ball on the beach in 1 yard line, and we get nobody knew about the endorphins yet. But anyway, so if you're from Baltimore at that time, you felt super great. If you're from New York, you didn't feel. You felt the opposite. And the whole thing's an imaginary thing. What's the difference? The guy goes, gets the ball, doesn't get the ball, and like it's funny. But so that memory really helped me. Now, it's all 50 years ago, and you still feel good about it? Yeah. Now, it happens to be the letters NY for New York. There's a lot of people all over the planet that go around with caps saying NY to New York, right? And especially, even in Jerusalem, you have tourists from all over the world, and they sell in New York, and people have it. So I constantly have reminders that Baltimore beat New York 23-17. Every time I see the letters NY, we beat them 23-17 in overtime. Wow, that was amazing. Now, that's silly, and that's why it works. The reason it works, it's not a great thing. It's like it's a silly thing. Anybody could be. So if a person doesn't like football, it has nothing to do with football, just to do with imagination anyways. So you can make it up any good thing that happened. Well, any good thing. It's, wow, I can walk 5 steps. Terrific. And now I really find it easier to be excited about the Baltimore Colts beating New York Giants 23-17 overtime than the fact that I can walk. Even though I'd rather walk than that thing. But the brain is amazing. So joy. Now this is the problem in school. I don't know what your biggest problem in school was. I know my biggest problem in school was boredom. Did anybody share that? Sometimes you felt bored with some of the teachers' classes, right? You ever have a class you felt, this is boring? Or if you didn't feel it was boring, I remember, this is one of my fascinating memories. This happened same year, it was 58, probably after that event. Basically, I once got kicked out of an algebra class for yawning. What happened was like this. We had subjects of the Torah in the morning and general subjects in the afternoon. So at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, we had a class in algebra, and the teacher was going on about 5x and 4x and this, that, things. And they go, okay. So I just happened to yawn, and I went like this. I yawned, and the teacher called me, Pliskin, what's your question? I said, I wasn't asking a question, I was yawning. So the teacher said to me, if that's how interested you are in this class, get out. So I always thought that was very fascinating, getting kicked out for yawning. Now, if I would have realized that the teacher would have been upset for my yawning, I would have said, oh, I had a question, I forgot the question, I didn't understand what you just said. I would have thought of something. I didn't mean to insult him in any way. I just was telling him the truth, that I yawned. Now, I think what he should have done was like this. It's so good that you're yawning, because when you yawn, you take in oxygen. And when you take in oxygen, your brain works better, and then you'll understand algebra better. So it's terrific that you're yawning, because you'll understand the algebra better. Okay, but he didn't do that. And he didn't do it yet. Now, ultimately, what any memory is, like with the story of a memory, you can keep making up better stories. Now, the thing, you write your own script. Now, unfortunately, professional comedians have professionals writing up their scripts. But otherwise, you can write any script. Now, for teaching, I feel very strongly, like I have in Life is Now, how to count joyfully. And the way you count joyfully is like this. 1, joy. Everybody together. 1, joy. 2, joy. 3, joy. 4, joy. 5, joy. 6, joy. 7, joy. 8, joy. 9, joy. 10, joy. That's how you count joyfully. Right? That's how you count joyfully. You keep going, you keep going. By the time we hit 500, everybody's going to be real high and everything. I really feel the way to get rid of the drug problem is get people high on counting numbers, like joy, 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 joy. Like basically, and it's an easy word to say. It goes J-O-Y. Now, I have in the book a chapter called Baking Joy Cookies. Baking joy cookie. How do you bake a joy cookie? You spell 3 cookies, one with the letter J, one O, one Y, and I asked one of my granddaughters to please bake me some joy cookies, and it was great. So basically, we can create an inner joy and an external joy very easily, very easily. So principle 2 is I speak and act joyfully and kindly. When you do an act of kindness, your brain produces endorphins. But fascinating research, and not only if you do an act of kindness, your brain produces endorphins, but if you watch person A doing kindness to person B, you also get endorphins, and you also get the pleasure part of the brain lights up. So all you have to do is watch kindness. So what if you can't see anybody being kind? Just imagine somebody being kind. Wow, I'm imagining kindness now. Wow, that's it. It's really very, 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 very simple. And the whole thing is making things more complicated. Make it more complicated, and it's not. It's not. I mean, because going straight to, so I speak and act joyfully and kindly. That's such an easy principle, right? Okay. 3, principle will go further. 3, I assume there's a benefit. What's good about this? I assume there's a benefit. What's good about this? That there's a idea called reframing, and which means the way we look at something is the way it's going to affect us. We can look at anything as positive, neutral, or negative. Let's say water is dripping, and you're trying to fall asleep. Water's dripping. Water goes drip, 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 drip. How are you going to react to the water dripping? So you have a choice. You can either say, wow, I can't fall asleep because the water's dripping. This is really annoying. Or you can say, the dripping water is going to make me calm and relaxed. Everybody together. The dripping water will make me calm and relaxed. That's when you want to go to sleep, when you want to wake up in the morning. The dripping water is energizing me. Everybody together. The dripping water is energizing me. So we can choose how we're going to react to dripping water, and it's a metaphor for everything else. Do I assume there's a benefit? What's good about this? So keep finding good things. But how can I gain? How can I benefit from it? That's positive. Find positive reframes. 4, I strive for meaningful goals. What's my goal for now? Everybody together. I strive for meaningful goals. What's my goal for now? When we have meaningful goals, we create a meaningful life, and we can always find meaningful goals. 5, and this is such an important principle, I see myself being the way I wish to be. Everybody together. I see myself being the way I wish to be. How do I want to be? Good. So keep thinking how you want to be, not how you don't want to be. Right? I keep saying, how do I want to be? Now, have you ever heard anyone talk about how they don't want to be? Oh, I'm lazy. That's awful. Or, I overeat. That's bad. I don't do everything I like to do. And now we do this all the time. That's an novelty sentence. Let's erase that one. Delete that. We don't do it all the time. Everybody does it. Forget about it. Doing it a little bit even is too much. So I see myself being the way I wish to be. How do I want to be? Keep thinking how you want to be. So you say, well, that's not real yet, but it becomes real as we keep visualizing ourselves, as we had before about the lemon, that when you see the lemon, you can visualize it, taste it. So when you visualize yourself being the way you wish to be, you start creating that. Because in your brain, it starts getting produce that type of way of being. And when you act a certain way, Maimonides wrote many years ago, the way to develop any positive trait is keep doing positive actions over and over again in that positive trait. And seek any positive way. So let's say a person says, oh, I don't have enough courage, or I'm not confident. So when it comes to confidence, first of all, to be confident how many times do you have to be confident in order to be confident? It's similar, let's say, to be a bank robber, how many banks does a person need to rob to be a bank robber? One bank, right? If he robs 3 banks, he's a multiple bank robber. 1 bank, he's a bank robber. So if you're confident about anything, so you ask them, people say, I'm not confident. They said, you know how to count to 10? I said, of course I can count to 10. I said, you're confident about that? I said, you're confident. So really, that's all it is. They said, I'm confident I count to 10. So it's not so great to count to 10. I said, of course I'm not saying that's it. But you can't say you don't have confidence anymore. So therefore, when you say, wow, I'm confident, now I want to be confident about more and more things. The more things you're confident, the more courage you have, and so forth. 6, I focus on solutions. What outcome am I looking for? Instead of focusing on problems, of course everybody has problems, but focus on solutions. Everybody together. I focus on solutions. What outcome am I looking for? So as you focus on solutions, your mind, so sometimes, what if I don't think of solutions? So at least you're better off trying to think of a solution. And now there's one basic principle. If you can't think of a solution yourself, one of the best pieces of advice is ask. Right? Ask, find somebody, but maybe somebody else will know the answer. And the idea is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, you don't have to reinvent the light bulb. Maybe Edison invented the light bulb for us, and it's fascinating that a lot of times just think, okay, who can I ask? And if you brainstorm and you keep asking people, somebody might come up with an answer. Focus on solutions. 7, I let challenges develop my character. Everybody together. I let challenges develop my character. This too will develop my character. Great. So I let challenges develop my character. I let challenges develop my character. This too will develop my character. Okay. This one will really help with number 8. As I talk about one of my favorite states, I'll mention that one. Number 8. I consistently access positive states. My awesome brain stores my best states. What state for now? Now, let's elaborate first on the states. It's an NLP concept, and the idea of state that we're always in a state. Now, when you're in a positive state, give your positive states names. As you give your positive states names, you can then access them from your brain. So I wrote an article in a journal called Anchor Point called On Collecting States. And that is, keep giving names to your favorite states. Now, the early model, before they knew about computers the way we know now, the idea of accessing states didn't have that metaphor. Once we know we can access states, if you give a name to favorite states, then you can access it. For instance, when I studied, I'm from the city of Baltimore. I studied in Tell's Yeshiva, Rabbinical College in Cleveland, Ohio. I was 13 years old when I came there, and I walked in a room with a lot of the rabbis, and when I walked in, Rabbi Mordechai Gifter, who knew me from before, said to me, "Good morning, Zelik, how are you today?" Now, I was 13 years old. I did not have the word state in my vocabulary. Baylor and Grindner didn't write Frogs and Princes yet, and didn't have the word state. But I just felt really good. And I said, wow, that good morning really made me feel wonderful. And I always remember that. But once I had the word state in my vocabulary, the name of that state is, "Good morning, Zelik, how are you today? State." And I keep hearing that state. I keep that state. So every morning I go into that state. Now the second state I go in every morning, again, you have to be from Baltimore for this one, a little bit. This was the Trent-Dilfer state. What is the Trent-Dilfer state? Baltimore won the Super Bowl in January 2001. Trent Dilfer, the quarterback, was asked by a reporter, he says, "Trent, you must feel really happy right now. You know, you just won the Super Bowl, and he came back to Tampa Bay. He played for Tampa Bay before, but it was in the game of City, Tampa Bay." He said, "You must be very happy." He says, "Yes, I'm very happy right now. But this is nothing compared to waking up every morning and thanking God for adversity. Through adversity, God helps you develop your character." Right? So that's that idea that, wow, adversity. Now, to say that you're happiest thing, now, I'm very much a student of joy. And I like, interviews of people who are joyful. Now, when people win the Super Bowl, they'll say something that you couldn't pay for this joyful feelings for $100 million, quote unquote. It's a great, great feeling. But so this person's saying you can have a great feeling even with adversity because you look at it, you're developing your character. So what a person says, I don't really like developing my character that much, so make believe you do. And it'll start working. It'll start working. After a while, wow, developing my character with this, yay! And you don't have to be a bit serious about it. Now, the thing is, it's easy to teach kindergarten, teach kids anything. You can teach a little kid a thing. You can't teach teenagers. You can teach executives, and they pay a lot of money for retreats and things like that. But teenagers, they'll they'll find it themselves. But 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, you can teach them any good thing. And even, unfortunately, my mother, unfortunately, had Alzheimer's for 8 years. She passed away 2 years ago. But a person with Alzheimer's, the memory goes, and it's very hard. How can a person with Alzheimer's access great states and stuff? They can't. But anybody who works with an Alzheimer's patient, all you have to do is remind them of good things that happen or make them up over and over again, because they won't remember that you'd said it. And then you can say again, wow, this great thing happened. Wow, that great thing happened. That is fantastic. And you can think, so basically, and some people say, well, I like living reality, not fantasy. Anybody who only likes reality, not fantasy, means they never watch any television or movie because it's all based on fantasy. Like, what's the difference between Walt Disney, who made Mickey Mouse, and somebody that's psychotic? The only difference is that he didn't claim it was really a Mickey Mouse. He says, I made up this character called Mickey Mouse, and okay, it's very cute, make Disneyland, and the thing, it's very interesting, and kids love going to Disneyland, they see Mickey Mouse, and the reason is an imagination. So everybody has imagination as a kid. I mean, somebody said we lose it. We don't lose it. We just either stop using it or not. And people who worry, I'm not going to raise who raised their hand if you worry. I used to consider myself, I used to be a worrier. I still worry once in a while. But so worry is imagination. All worry is that in your imagination, you're imagining something that didn't happen and feeling bad about it. But that's what worry is. So therefore, imagine good things happening. Wow, great things might happen today. That's fantastic. So what if nothing great? You ever worry and then nothing bad happened? Now, then nothing happened. You say, oh, I shouldn't have worried. And you feel bad about that, or you can feel good about that. But just forget about feeling good or bad about worry. Just go into joy. Like, joy, wow, I can imagine greatest things in the world happening right now. Fantastic. Okay, so therefore we choose our states. We consistently access positive states. My Awesome Brain stores my best states, and your Awesome Brain stores your best states. And the thing is, the amount of gigabytes we have in our brain is fascinating. We don't know how many gigabytes we got in there, but we got unlimited potential for all kind of great stuff. And what state for now? What state would I like to be in now? What state would I like to be in now? And that's really a key element in all problems, because what's the reason why a person will overeat? Because they think, oh, this food will put me in a better state. That's why people smoke cigarettes, that's why people drink alcohol. This will put me in a good state. This will put me in a good state. You say, wow, I can put myself in a good state. Yay, that is fantastic. So basically a group of people can get together, which we happen to be doing right here now in happiness clubs, and ultimately can be joy clubs and happy clubs all over, because Lionel and I had dialogue how really if there would be a tremendous amount of happiness and joy clubs all over planet Earth, people would be creating principle number 2, I speak and act joyfully and kindly. And when you speak joyfully and kindly, and ultimately it feels much better. It means, say, I'd be happy to give the head of Iran the Nobel Peace Prize if he just chooses to say, we're going to make Iran a happy country and we'll be kind to all our neighbors. Like, yeah, give him Peace Prize, Nobel Peace Prize. Just he should mean it, that's all. And he deserves it, be Peace Prize, and he made world peace, and that's it. So basically, it'd be wonderful. So creating happiness and joy clubs all over, and I feel it's easy. Again, you don't have to have these 9 principles, but these 9 principles make it easier, and it fills up the time, and and you have 9 principles. But really, all you have to do is joy, awesome joy. Everybody together, awesome joy. And some say awesome joy. So some people like the word inner joy. Yeah. And then number 9, I smile and wave to mirrors. They always smile and wave back to me. Everybody together. I smile and wave to mirrors. They always smile and wave back to me. Now the good thing about that is you don't have to own the mirror for it to work. Like you can pass by a mirror and go like that. Now the interesting thing with the brain, you don't really need a mirror for this. You can just go like this to an imaginary mirror. And also, since it looks normal walking and talking on a telephone, now you can have telephones coming out from anywhere. So let's say you're in an elevator and you want to create a little joy in the elevator, and you say, "Hi there, I was at a Joy Club meeting in Fairfield, Connecticut. Boy, was that enjoyable." Now, if you go like this, people might not see anything in your hands. They figure, who knows, maybe you got a telephone in your fingernails or something. It just looks like you're talking on the telephone, and it looks semi-normal, right? So that way, you can always say, this is going to be a joyful moment now. Right? Everybody get it. Everybody go like this. This will be a joyful moment now. Right. We're going to start a real thing. It's a joyful moment now. So, can we have time for questions?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good. We got some questions. Anybody have a question to ask? Okay.
I just want to say you're adorable.
Okay. That wasn't a question. Anybody have a question? Question, anyone?
Right here.
Yes, question.
How many children do you have?
I have 6 children.
6 children.
Yeah.
And
Please,
grandchildren? How many grandchildren?
a number, yeah.
You forgot, huh? Ken Yerbu.
Yes. It's in Hebrew for Ken Yerbu that should be increased. Good. Hi, good.
Okay, just everything you're talking about is forward, all right?
That's all we got. Plus
What do you think about using regression where you redo your thoughts about some accident happening?
Good idea. Sure, all the time. Wow, I had a great past. Boy, did I have a great childhood. Boy, my childhood was fantastic. Now I can do it for 30 seconds or 5 seconds or 5 hours or 50 hours or 500 hours. It's all going to be the same. And again, it's not, I'm not into really, my book is not about only being in the now and not a bit in the past or future. It's a balance. The idea really is wise balance of past, present, and future. Wise balance, past, present, and future. And therefore, the reason in psychology, think almost every tool is going to work. Every tool is going to work. And now, I happen to be super open to suggestion. So for me, it's not like some tools will work and not every tool works for me. And therefore, anybody that comes up with any idea, there's all different approaches. And that if it works, just the most efficient for joy is, I choose joy now. Everybody together. I choose joy now. And now, let's see if you ask me, am I always joyful? Of course not. Only have to be joyful now. But when I am in Fairfield, Connecticut, giving a happiness club after the Fairfield, Connecticut named a Lionel Ketchen Day, then I've been joyful pretty much during the happiness club meetings. And yeah.
Hi. Can you retell your story, which I tell to everybody, about the woman who came in who was so sad all her life, and you told her to find some joy about the plants that you suggested for her to do? You asked her what she found that
was Milton Erickson's story. I told the story over, but it's not about me. Milton Erickson, there was an elderly woman. She was very depressed, and she just stayed in the house and didn't go any place and didn't do anything special. And so her self-image was there's an old lady who's depressed all the time. And Milton Erickson, asked her what she's interested in. So she said she liked African violet plants. So he told her to buy 200 flower pots and cultivate 200 African violet plants and give them out as gifts to different people. And she did. So the African violet plants took a lot of time to put in water, put in the sun, and she gave them out to 200 different people. She became known as the African violet queen of her city, and that's where went her depression, because she was involved in things she loved doing, African violet plants, and she kept giving them out as gifts. Now, I personally never told anybody to do that, but you can learn that as a metaphor. What does a person love doing? What do they love doing? And find ways you love doing. And find things you love doing. So thank you for reminding me to tell that story. Yes?
I have a question. You being an expert in joy,
and you've raised 6 kids.
I don't say I'm an expert in joy. I don't look at myself. I just consider joy now sometimes.
Okay. That brings me to my question.
Good.
Okay, so you raised 6 kids. You said you can't teach teenagers.
Nah, I didn't really mean that seriously. I mean to say like this: if you have a kid,
What I want to know is how you blended what you know when you mix it in the world of teenagers who are unhappy 25 hours a day.
oh, good. That's the question, right thing. But if you have a teenager, it's not. So the answer is, first of all, it's good to start when a kid is born, and 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old. But the idea, like each person will have something that will interest them, what they're interested in. Because let's say a person's unhappy all the time, when do they feel good? They feel good about anything. Usually people do feel good about something. So if you find what a person feels good, also find meaningful things they can do that they would like, they would appreciate. Or get another kid, pay another kid the money. Don't give the kid the money. Pay another kid a friend. Say, hey, let's go to the museum. I don't want to go to the museum. So your parents want to take you to the museum when you feel down. You're not going to go. But maybe another kid. Pay another kid to take your kid to the museum. I'm going to the museum. You want to come with me? Yeah, I don't want to go to the museum. Oh, come on. I don't want to go myself. Yeah, okay, I'll go with you. Right? So you pay somebody else to go with them. It's cheaper than a psychiatrist. No offense, John. Yeah. And if it works, it works. I mean, things like this. It definitely, everybody has things that can get on them and weigh on them. But the more we make it a habit, and also emotions are contagious. And I think also, if somebody's really feeling awful, empathy. Don't tell a person to be joyful. I don't like nobody wants to hear if they're really down and say, "Oh, be joyful, be happy." I don't want to hear that. They would say, "Boy, you have it rough," and like empathize. Listen to what the person's telling you. Care about the person. Enter their world. That's much bigger kindness than trying to make them happy at that time. And then a person's understood. Also understand why is the person feeling. What's he worried about, or what's he upset about? And sometimes there's valid reasons for feeling upset. Yes.
Hi. I get the idea is great about your enemies are really your best friends because you could really grow in those stressful situations. But could you help me integrate concepts of like caution and safety when you're thinking about bad things may happen?
Yes.
Integrate that into your.
In Judaism, there's a statement. Good. There's a statement, who is wise? This Talmudic statement. Who is wise? One who sees what's going to be. Meaning to say, knowing the outcome. So there's idea of preventing problems, of taking precautions. And the idea that takes life of wisdom to know what's a risk that's too excessive risk and not excessive risk. And definitely we have to, the idea of life is now means not only now, we want to live for a long time. So we have to be healthy. We have to be careful, drive carefully, do things that are take care of you. So we need balance. The key element is wise balance. And there's no magic formula for wise balance, and we learn from life experience.
50 years ago,
Yeah.
50 years ago, let's say
Yeah.
that stage.
Yeah.
How did you know
I
that
didn't.
you were going to be
I didn't know
working
that.
on joy?
I didn't know that then, 50 years ago.
How were you? How were you?
I evolved little by little, little by little. You know what? I wish my mother was here. Like, I'll tell you why. Because the times that I was feeling down, and my mother really tried. Like, if I wasn't especially unhappy, just the times if I felt down, my mother really would try to make me feel better and the thing, and she was worried at times. But I didn't have. Like my dear friend Lionel said, he made a decision to be happy. I didn't make a decision to be joyful.
Who influenced you in your life?
Everybody I ever spoke to.
Yeah,
This is the answer, right? True answers.
That is
Everybody.
absolutely true.
John knows me for a number of
This
years.
is the most open person you're going to ever meet, and that is exactly and a truly joyful, incredibly open. When I used to go to Jerusalem, we'd walk down the streets and talk to people and have conversations, and the most extraordinarily warm and interested and caring and open person you're ever going to encounter. That's what he brings to the world.
Okay, and now that's not even my self-image because I used to say I'm shy. And John used to, like, when we first saw I was a little more shy then than now.
Oh, so shocked.
So I stopped saying that.
Oh, yeah. But what I'm trying to find
Evolved.
out.
The true answer is it evolved.
Yeah.
And I feel this book is really amazing. Life is now, because this, when God, like, John asked me a question today. We hadn't seen each other in a while, and it was today, and he said, like, what did I learn from writing this book? What did I learn? And that reading this book was so helpful to me. The idea is now that all we have to do is joyful now. That always have to always do anything. And the subtitle is Creating Moments of Joy, Courage, Kindness, and Serenity. How do you always have courage? You can't. You only need a moment of courage. How can you always be kind? Sometimes you don't feel like doing anybody a favor. You can be kind now. Serenity. I can create a moment of serenity. Yeah. A moment of serenity. So when we look at that as creating moments, and our self-image, for instance, also very important. The idea of our self-image, first of all, I have a little workshop, which I'll do now, a 2-minute workshop on the 4 for self-development. What's the 4 for self-development workshop? So here is the self-development workshop. 4 for self-development. 1 is self-talk. Self-talk. It's ongoing or self-talk. I keep upgrading my self-talk. Everybody together. I keep upgrading my self-talk. And I wrote a book called Conversations with Yourself. I brought a few copies. Brought a few copies over here if you're available. So the self-talk. Then the second thing is self-image. I keep building my self-image. Everybody together. I keep building my self-image. And that's really the key. Keep building your self-image. Because when you're 5 years old, you can do certain things. When you're 10, 20, 30, we keep having different life experiences. And as we keep developing ourselves, I keep developing my self-image. I'm very much against talking about low self-esteem. Instead of thinking about low self-esteem, say, I keep building my self-image. Everybody together. I keep building my self-image. Good, beautiful. 3 is goals. Goals. Go for goals. See yourself goals. Napoleon Hill's famous, they did about goals, but goals. And as you keep visualizing, making and reaching goals, building up your inner resources for goals, it's terrific. And 4 is traits and states. Traits and states. There's our self-talk. We're talking to ourselves all the time. Self-image. Keep building. Goals. And what's the difference? Traits and states. Traits and states, like, together. Traits are your patterns of your thoughts, feelings, and words and actions. So what are your traits? Let's first person. My traits. Everybody together. My traits are my patterns of thoughts, feelings, words, and actions. And I'm always in the present. And now I choose my thoughts, feelings, words, and actions. Everybody together. Now I choose my thoughts, my feelings, my words, and my actions. You can always choose your words and actions. You can't always choose your feelings. But if you keep talking like this, you'll see it gets easier and easier. And there's traits and then there's states. States is how am I feeling now? And the 2 base ideas. States go either visual and auditory, back in NLP focus, which is the pictures we see in our mind and what we're telling ourselves. So right now, picture something really great. Picture auditory, talk to yourself in great ways. That's visual and auditory. And kinesthetic, and keep speaking and acting joyfully. And as Bandler writes recently, the idea of spinning emotion, spinning joy. I'm going to allow my joy to spin. Everybody together. I'm going to allow my joy to spin. Now allow your joy to spin. Everybody go, spin joy, joy, spin joy, spin joy, spin joy. That's how you do it.